In 2013, a small white drone quietly went on sale for $629. It looked simple. Plastic body, 4 propellers, a mount for a GoPro camera. Nothing about it suggested it would reshape an entire industry. But within a few years, that drone helped its maker dominate the skies. Today, the company behind it, DJI, controls an estimated 70 to 75% of the global drone market, and in the United States consumer drone market, its share has been estimated as high as 80% to 90%. Think about that for a moment. In a world filled with powerful technology companies, Apple, Samsung, Sony, Google, one relatively young company managed to corner an entirely new category of hardware. Hollywood productions rely on their drones. Farmers use them to monitor crops. Construction companies survey land with them. Even emergency responders and police departments deploy them during rescue operations. But DJI didn't start with drones. It started with a frustrated student who believed flying machines were unnecessarily difficult. That student was Frank Wong. Back in the mid-2000s, the world of remote-controlled aircraft was still mostly a hobbyist playground. Enthusiasts built their own flying machines from parts, soldering electronics together, and tweaking components to keep the aircraft stable. Flying one wasn't easy. Most early drones behaved exactly like real aircraft. Unstable, sensitive, and extremely difficult to control. If you didn't know what you were doing, you would crash, and crashing was common.
If the arms were completely horizontal and propellers pointed straight down, you'd get unstable flight characteristics. But because the air is pushed slightly out, the pressure pushes the drone in on itself, keeping it stable.
On top of that, the core technology that kept these aircraft stable, known as the flight controller, was extremely expensive. In many cases, a high-quality controller could cost around $2,000 in the mid-2000s. That price alone kept drones confined to a tiny community of enthusiasts. Frank Wong believed that was the real problem. If flying machines were easier to control, the market wouldn't be small anymore. It would explode. So instead of building flashy aircraft, Wong focused on the invisible component that controlled them, the flight controller. Think of it as the drone's brain. It takes the pilot's commands, calculates thousands of adjustments per second, and stabilizes the aircraft so it doesn't flip, wobble, or crash. If that brain worked perfectly, even a beginner could fly. In 2006, Wong founded DJI in Shenzhen, a city often referred to as China's Silicon Valley because of its massive concentration of electronics manufacturers.
In December 2012, the company launched its breakthrough Phantom 1 drone without a camera. Just 3.5 years and 3 models later, the Phantom 4 drone can produce this.
We're very excited about the future. I think we'll continue our monumental growth.
In the early years, DJI didn't sell drones at all. They sold flight controllers. And they worked. DJI's technology dramatically improved stability, making drones easier to fly than anything hobbyists had seen before. Even more important, the company began pushing costs down. By 2011, DJI had reduced the price of some controllers to under $400, a massive drop from the $2,000 systems common just a few years earlier. That shift changed everything. Suddenly, drones weren't just for experts anymore. But Frank Wong realized something else. If DJI truly wanted to unlock the market, selling parts wasn't enough. They needed to build the entire flying machine. And when they finally did, the result would trigger one of the most explosive product revolutions in modern tech. The drone was called Phantom, and it was about to turn a niche hobby into a multi-billion-dollar global industry. When the DJI Phantom launched in 2013, the drone industry changed almost overnight. Before Phantom, most drones were complicated DIY projects. You had to assemble parts yourself, mount your own camera, configure the flight system, and hope everything worked once it left the ground. Even experienced hobbyists crashed regularly. DJI removed almost all of that friction. The Phantom arrived fully assembled, stabilized by DJI's flight controller, and designed so that even a beginner could take it out of the box and fly it within minutes. At $629, it was also far cheaper than many comparable systems. But the real genius of the Phantom was how perfectly it arrived at the right moment. At the time, GoPro cameras were exploding in popularity. Adventurers, YouTubers, and filmmakers were using them everywhere, on surfboards, helmets, cars, and bikes. DJI gave those cameras something they'd never had before, a stable flying platform. For the first time, ordinary people could capture cinematic aerial footage without hiring helicopters or building expensive rigs. Suddenly, travel creators, filmmakers, real estate agents, and journalists all had a new tool. The response was explosive. Industry estimates suggest DJI sold more than 500,000 Phantom drones within the first 2 years, helping push the company's annual revenue to around $500 million by 2014. A new industry had just been born. But internally, things weren't as smooth. During DJI's expansion into North America, the company partnered with entrepreneur Colin Ginn, who helped establish DJI North America in 2011. Ginn became the public face of DJI in the US, promoting the Phantom and pushing the brand into Western markets. At first, the partnership looked promising, but tensions soon emerged. Ginn reportedly began presenting himself publicly as the CEO of DJI, while Frank Wong remained deeply protective of the company's identity and direction. Disagreements grew over credit for the Phantom's success and over how aggressively DJI should pursue business deals. One potential deal nearly changed the company's entire future. GoPro approached DJI with a proposal. The idea was simple. GoPro would sell a drone under the GoPro brand, while DJI would design and manufacture it behind the scenes. On paper, it looked like an easy way to scale. GoPro had massive brand recognition. DJI had the engineering. But Frank Wong saw the danger immediately. If DJI accepted that deal, the company would become nothing more than an OEM supplier, building hardware while another brand took the spotlight and most of the profits. Wong rejected the partnership. His reasoning was blunt. GoPro would make 2 points of profit, while DJI would make 1. In other words, DJI would do the hardest engineering work while surrendering the brand value. That decision would prove critical. By 2014, the relationship between Wong and Ginn had completely collapsed. Ginn was removed from DJI North America and later filed a lawsuit against the company in a dispute over ownership and compensation. The case eventually settled privately for an undisclosed amount reported to be under $10 million. The drama could have slowed DJI down. Instead, the company doubled down on innovation. Because Frank Wong understood something crucial. The Phantom wasn't the finish line. It was only the beginning. And if DJI wanted to keep its lead, it had to move faster than every competitor chasing it. So the company began refining the product relentlessly, removing every single frustration that drone users still experienced. And that relentless product obsession would soon push DJI even further ahead of the entire industry. After the Phantom proved the market existed, DJI did something that most technology companies struggle to do. They didn't slow down, they accelerated. Instead of treating the Phantom as a one-time success, DJI began improving the product almost obsessively. Every new generation removed another pain point that frustrated users. Early Phantom owners still had to attach their own GoPro cameras. That meant extra cost, extra setup, and sometimes shaky footage if the mounting wasn't perfect. So DJI fixed that. With the Phantom 2 Vision, DJI integrated its own camera system directly into the drone and added Wi-Fi live video so pilots could see what the drone was filming on their phones. Then came the 3-axis gimbal, which stabilized the camera and removed vibration from the footage. Suddenly, aerial video looked cinematic. Then came Phantom 3, which introduced Lightbridge HD video transmission, allowing pilots to see crystal clear footage from hundreds of meters away. It also added GPS positioning and intelligent flight modes that made flying even easier. Each version followed the same philosophy: remove friction, improve stability, make the technology disappear for the user. And the strategy worked. By the mid-2010s, DJI wasn't just selling drones, it was dominating the entire industry. Yet even as DJI tightened its grip on the market, new problems began emerging. Patent lawsuits, national security accusations, government bans, and the growing fear among Western governments that one Chinese company had become too powerful in the skies. Because while DJI had built an engineering empire, the next threat to its dominance wasn't coming from competitors. It was coming from politics.